Hello and welcome to For Your Reconsideration, a film podcast in which three film school graduates reassess the maligned, underseen or financially disappointing films from filmmakers far more talented than they are. We assess whether these pictures deserve the less than optimal reception they got on release and whether they're now worthy of your time, or should they remain in the obscure hinterland they currently occupy. My name's Rob, and as always, I'm joined by my cinema-loving chums, Simon and James. How are you doing, boys?
Very well, thank you, Robert.
I'm wonderful, sir. Wonderful.
That's that kind of enthusiasm that this will propel will propel to this podcast to unknown heights.
It's in no part due to the several beers I had beforehand. That's not the case at all.
Well, it's Friday night, gents. Not to let the listener behind the curtain too much, but we are recording this on a Friday night. And we're going to be talking ostensibly about a children's film, so rock and roll stuff, really.
That is correct. For my part, I'm currently double fisting Bud Lights like Stone Cold Steve Austin.
You son bitch.
Give me a hell. Never mind.
Seriously, we've been going for 2 seconds.
Admittedly, that is a poor choice of words. Anyway, since this is a film podcast, and we're not just all about what we now find in the bargain basement bins of video stores that we used to have or anything, we're always watching stuff all the time, aren't we, guys? So what have you guys been watching this week?
I've actually watched one of the worst romantic comedies I've ever seen this week. I got a screener for a new film starring Hayden Christensen and Julia Roberts' niece. I forget what her name. Emma Roberts, she's called.
Oh, yeah.
And it's called Little Italy, and it's about a high-flying London chef returns home to Little Italy, not in New York, as you would imagine, in like Toronto or something, where Hayden Christensen's like her childhood sweetheart, and their families are at warring pizza restaurants. It was horrendous.
It sounds like Nicholas Sparks and Super Mario made a movie together.
I know that one of the main reasons for us doing this podcast is to be positive about films.
Yeah.
And I've just started off by saying but it's really terrible. Mainly because Hayden Christensen's been on the Just for Men, and has got some this really weird fake tan thing going on because he's supposed to be Italian. So it's very bizarre.
Oh, so he's been cast as an Italian guy.
Yeah, he's got the proper accent as well. Hey man, what you doing?
No,
hey, I'm from New York. That's where I'm a going.
Sounds like one to avoid.
One to avoid.
Not for our reconsideration. Perhaps.
Yes, exactly, definitely. It will not be featuring on this show sometime in the future.
I don't know. I mean, some people might think that would be ideal fodder for this particular podcast. So, from my standpoint, I went to see the new Stephen Merchant film this week. I went to see Fighting with My Family, which was excellent, I must say. It was very good.
Excellent.
Very well written. Great gags. Wonderful sort of underdog story. And just a good time. Heartwarming stuff, really. I very much enjoyed it. I haven't got anything funny to say about that one.
That's just a positive review. Great.
Yeah, just enjoyed it. I thought it was really good.
I am a little bit in love with Florence Pugh as well. She's incredible. She's so good.
Yes, she's very good. Very good in the film.
Speaking of love, I'm going to keep with the romantic theme. I've been very romantic with my wife, curling up, going for an early night, watching the Ted Bundy tapes.
Wow.
On Netflix.
Romance is not dead.
Yeah, and that's also very good for entirely different reasons. And really chilling, and gives you bad dreams if you watch it just before bed after a buttload of cheese as well.
Wow. Oh, jeez. Yeah. Well, this week, James, you picked the film, right, this week?
I did indeed, guys. So, the film this week is Speed Racer, directed by the Wachowskis.
Love Speed Racer.
Nice.
If people aren't familiar with Speed Racer, I'll just give you a quick log line from the IMDb. A young driver, Speed Racer, aspires to be champion of the racing world with help of his family and his high-tech Mach 5 automobile.
Your son seems to be interested in only one thing. All he talks about, all he seems capable of thinking about, is automobile racing.
Racing's everything. For my family, it isn't just a sport. It's way more important than that. It's like a religion.
Are you ready to become a real race car driver? Then sign that contract.
He's just trying to scare you, son.
What you do behind the wheel of a race car has nothing to do with business.
You walk away from me, you walk away from this deal, no matter how well you drive, you won't win, you won't place. I guarantee you right now, you won't even finish the race.
You think you can drive a car and change the world? It doesn't work like that.
Maybe not. But it's the only thing I know how to do, and I gotta do something.
I'm already thinking of not wanting to talk about it based on that.
Well, I assume you've both watched it, otherwise this is going to be a really, really short episode.
Well, that's true. I actually,
Yes.
What film's that? I haven't seen it. It was a nightmare to track down and find though. It was sold out,
wasn't it?
Sold out in most places. I tried to get it online. Not on Netflix, not even on Amazon Prime to like buy.
Yeah.
So I had to go I think I went to Google Play and had to play it through my browser on my telly. But
that is not the optimal way to watch a particular film.
Roundabout way to watch a film, but it still looked crisp and glorious. So yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
even through the old Google Play, I got it on the Blu-ray. I ordered it a couple of weeks ago, and it looked absolutely stunning. So what did everyone think of it before we get into the what was everyone's initial reaction?
I thought within the first 5 minutes, I was thinking, how the hell is this film going to hold my attention for the mighty 2 hours, 15 minutes?
It's a long film, isn't it?
It's long.
Clock in
It's
at.
long.
It is a long film. Yeah, I remember when I first watched it, how old is it? It was like 10 years or something?
2008, I think.
Yeah, I remember when I watched it the first time thinking, why is this well over 2 hours long?
Had you seen it before then, in which case? Had you guys seen this? Well, James, you picked it, so you must have seen it before. But
Yes, yeah.
Had you seen it before, Si?
I saw it. I don't think I saw it in the cinema. I saw it on Blu-ray, probably when it was first released on disc, and just thought, wow, this is. I get why people don't like it, but this is pretty stunning stuff, like in terms of visual effects, which we'll get into later during the course of the episode. But I was like, why do people hate this so much? And I've actually got some hot facts for you guys.
Oh yes, I love trivia.
Right. So, what film do you think came out around the same time as this?
Oh, I know this.
I have no idea.
It's like Iron Man, isn't it?
It was Iron Man's second week.
Right, Iron
No
Man's
way.
second week, yeah. So it obviously got trounced by that, didn't it?
It did, yes. And it also came out the same summer as a little film called The Dark Knight. Now, can you believe that this film was even released in the same
my
era
God.
as those two things?
Dear me, man.
Wow.
No, that's incredible.
Yeah, so in preparation for this episode, I came across an excellent article by David Sims on The Atlantic about how the landscape for tentpole movies was shifting right around the release of this. So obviously you've got the birth of the superhero extended cinematic universe around this, and this just feels like a film completely out of time to me.
Yeah,
completely out of step with what is going on.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. I mean, what did you guys think of the film?
I mean, overall, is it spoiler to say what I think so early on, or do you want me to go for a go?
The initial reaction.
You take half an hour off this movie, and it's a great movie.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the time, some of the montages, however great they were, went on possibly 5 to 10 minutes longer than was necessary.
So many long
it's getting
montages.
bashed over the head by a rainbow, isn't it? Like,
It is, yeah.
absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. What you're looking at, though, is absolutely sensational half the time. And I think it's acted unbelievably well.
The cast is great. I think and it's like loads of big hitters as well. So you got Susan Sarandon in there, and John Goodman's in there, and I mean Matthew Fox is hilarious. I think he is.
I will not have a bad word to say about
funny.
him.
Did you know that? I saw another bit of trivia that Keanu Reeves was supposed to do it.
Yeah,
they asked Keanu to do it, obviously coming off the back of The Matrix, and he turned it down, unfortunately. Obviously, so it was up to It was quite hot at the time, I guess, with Lost and everything.
Yeah. I actually also read that Nicolas Cage was offered it in the 90s when Joel Silver was still a Joel Silver produced production, wasn't it? But so like when I went to bed after watching it, I was just imagining a Cage version of Racer X.
Oh my god, that would have been super. That's like the pre-Kick-Ass
fantasy
thing.
casting.
Like he would be in Kick-Ass.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine at the time Matthew Fox was quite the get, but the idea that he would be sort of the main name in a huge summer blockbuster now is absolutely mind-boggling.
It's so funny. It's really, really funny. I think he's great in it. I just laugh. I burst out laughing when he came on. It's so good.
This is so harsh. I thought like he was, because I thought he brought a gravitas to what was like essentially half a face half the time. I actually really liked his turn in it.
Yeah, I mean, everyone, like, the monkey's even good in it.
We need to get onto that.
Don't get me started on the chin.
I know James doesn't like young children in films very much.
Or whimsy.
Whimsy children. Yeah, I could have done without the annoying little brother.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, that's where I'd take the scissors to this film. Absolutely.
I knew you would. I absolutely knew that's what you'd hate about it.
But if you take that away, I mean, because what the kid being there and that god awful double act he's got with that chimpanzee, it's pretty painful. I got to be honest. But I'm someone who, as listeners, you're going to see this from me, that I will look for gold in turds wherever I possibly can.
This is the right podcast for you to be hosting.
But this, I found that like them being there lent quite an uneasy tone to the film at times, simply because of the there's a borderline neon latex fetishism at work half the time, and then cutting to chimps throwing poo and cheese at a little boy, and I'm thinking, like, what is going? I'm always confused a little bit. Like, what am I supposed to be feeling at this point in time? Confused was the end result.
Yeah, I think the tone of the film it is a choice. I mean, it's so corny, painfully earnest, and cheesy throughout, but that's absolutely the intent. That's not by accident at all. They're building towards the finale where all this cheesy sincerity will ultimately pay off.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's weird sort of like contrasts throughout. Like you have the chimp and the stupid little fucking brother stealing sweets off that plane.
Oh my!
Thing.
That joke goes on way too long. It comes up about 3 times. It's like, all right, it wasn't good the first time. Just leave that joke alone.
Yeah, and all the time that fat corporate guy is waffling on about stock options and corporate greed to Speed Racer, and intercutting between the two. It's like, what's the tone?
Yeah, I have to say, Roger Allam is superb in it.
Is he the guy who played the pancake weirdo?
He's that.
Yes.
Yeah, him.
These are great pancakes, Susan. Marvelous pancakes.
Oh my
Susan.
god, he was brilliant. And then the more it went on, the more he just morphed into Mark Corrigan from Peep Show. Again, just couldn't stop laughing. I think
Speed Racer, no.
he is so good, and it was just like, I think that one of the main reasons I really do like this film, and I remember it at the time as well, it brought me so much joy. I thought it looks beautiful. It's like a really bright, on Blu-ray especially, because I did have it on Blu-ray, but someone stole my copy. I don't know why, but
they obviously really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and
they obviously wanted to reconsider it.
It's what 10 years old, but there are elements of course there are elements of it which have dated, but for the most part, some of the stuff just still looks brilliant, and I haven't seen anything like it since. To be fair, to it,
the action editing as well going on, especially in the race sequences, is just amazing.
The editing is
amazing,
brilliant, and like obviously it's not going to win awards for like story and things like that, but credit where it's due. The editing is insane. Like, it's really dynamic the whole way through it. There's loads of green screen bonanza going on, but which is a bit of a slight, maybe that does go a bit too much, but credit where it's due. Editing is superb on it. It's so good.
I mean, for me, the first 15 to 17 minutes of this film are absolutely breathtaking. I mean, you said
that first race, the backstory, going with that.
Yeah, so
as a filmmaker's challenge to how can I deliver backstory while putting together a dynamic, thrilling race sequence and doing it all in one go. They absolutely nailed it in that sense.
Yeah, so I made the notes down while I was watching this. So during that first 15 minutes, they go, we set up the world, the visual style, Speed's backstory, his motivation and his family, all while capturing an enthralling race. You know, it's a masterclass in world building, but in storytelling as well. The way this would normally be done would be to show the race and then go back and explain the hologram that he's racing through, a series of flashbacks, and then they'd go back and explain, like, oh, he wasn't very good at school and all this, and like, you know, but they just cut it all together with such kinetic energy. And the way that the film, it just brings it all together. And also, I think that first 15 minutes, you can decide at that point whether it's going to be for you or not. Like,
That's true.
They absolutely bombard you with everything that this film is about. Yes, it's cheesy. Yes, it's visually spectacular. Yes, it's just all the colours of the rainbow throughout the entire film, and they're just going to throw it all at you, and you either get on the train or you don't, basically.
I thought it showed an invention that I wasn't expecting as well. I wasn't expecting to be inventive as it was. Case in point being the little finger plugging a hole in a piranha tank.
Oh my God.
That was just quite dark, but that was so cool. And so, it came so out of nowhere, but the film was constantly full of those little moments that, well, what are we going to do? And they're little like throwaways. It reminded me of the kind of gag that you'd see in Indiana Jones, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And like, I thought, you know, that it's after they've had the desert race sequence and they're all in the hotel that evening. I thought they were going to assassinate that kid, you know, when they're dripping the poison liquid into his mouth. And, is this a PG? I'm checking the back of the box. Like,
you'd be forgiven for thinking with all the latex neon fetish stuff going on all over the place.
I did enjoy the ninjas, like, sparkly outfits. Like, the ninja costumes had a nice little sparkle to them. It's like, this isn't proper ninja attire.
Calls himself a ninja. More like a nonja.
Oh, yeah.
Go on, John
what
Goodman.
Was that joke? I didn't get that joke at all.
I mean, that's the level, isn't it? Like, if that's not for you, then you may as well just switch it off.
Well, I mean, you know, you're basing a film on a, what is it, like a 60s Japanese cartoon, like Saturday morning cartoon. Yeah. And they've just gone, there's, you know, it's not a dark, gritty reboot of it. It's gone, no, this is what the tone of it is. We're just going to go for it. And that's, you know, full speed, excuse the pun, full speed ahead on that exact, like, style and tone. And yeah, it feels like a Warner Brothers, like, Hanna-Barbera cartoon, like that.
It does, yeah.
But
yeah.
in live
That's
action,
true.
like, you know,
absolutely,
they've gone out to make a cartoon in live action, basically. And I think they totally nailed it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what's your knowledge of the Speed Racer cartoon at all? I'll tell you what the extent of my knowledge is in Friends, Joey Tribbiani has a framed photo of poster on his wall of Speed Racer. And that's where my knowledge begins and ends.
And the music video for Summertime by the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, he's wearing a Speed Racer t-shirt.
Right, brilliant.
The only reference I've got is that, oh dear, R. Kelly referenced him in the song Hex by "Just call me Speed Racer because I'm rolling in that Mark 5." Lost my train. So I deliberately as well avoided any, before it, looking at anything to do with the source material. I didn't look at anything because I think even, and as we continue with this podcast adventure, that I'll keep doing the same thing, I think, unless I already know it, because I think films should stand up by themselves, regardless of what source material they should come from. And in that sense, I don't know whether ardent fans of Speed Racer, the original series, will be up in arms about what they've seen. But from a film that stands by itself, this is a ton of fun all by itself.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely, yeah. Rob, out of interest, you have a 7 or 8-year-old daughter?
I do, yeah.
Would you show her this film?
Yes, I would, yeah. I might, put it into Avid and edit it down myself because she ain't got the attention span for 2.25 hours. But
the Rob Parker cut.
I honestly, since watching it, I thought, like, this is the kind of thing that they enjoy. I've got a 1-year-old boy as well, and he loves looking at cars and boom, boom, and all that kind of stuff. So surely he's going to enjoy that.
I would try and show it to mine, but I think his head would explode, to be honest.
Or he'll have a seizure or something because it's very, very flashy.
It is. But from a production design standpoint, and I know you mentioned green screen before, Si.
Yeah.
There was obviously a lot of that. Just even undertaking a film like this is outrageous to begin with. I mean, you have to be a certain caliber of filmmaker to even have one like the knowledge of what it is you're trying to do, the innate knowledge of the film you're trying to create, to even attempt to put something like this together. You have to have all your cogs in the right place at the right time, all the time. And on that score, I'm amazed that it's not thought more highly of.
Yeah, I mean, this is them cashing in all of their chips in it on the back of the success of the Matrix trilogy and just going, we're doing this. Right, and I can imagine them having a chat with the studio where they go by, right, we want to do Speed Racer, and they're like, what is it? And they're like, well, it's this, it's based on this Japanese Saturday morning cartoon, and it's going to look like this, and just blowing their minds. And I imagine the studio execs went, well, we didn't understand the Matrix either, and that worked out all right.
Yeah, what was the budget for the film?
Oh, the budget was, well, what do you think it was?
800 million. No idea.
What? 100 million at least, surely.
$120 million.
$120 million. What did it make? Something like 40 million or something?
That's domestic, I think. Worldwide, 93,945,000.
So it didn't make its cash back.
They spent an absolute shit ton on marketing as well. So
it probably needed to make, conservatively, 250 million to break even.
That is a flop and a half, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's unbelievable. They obviously it's all on the screen. You can't deny that.
Yeah.
It's absolutely all on the screen. But no wonder they won't let them make films in America anymore.
Well, and this was before the era where, nowadays it's most films have got about, most big summerish movies have got $100 million chucked at it easy. I dread to think what, The Rock's back catalogue of Rampage and Skyscraper and Jumanji, between them, they must have 300 million behind them. Surely.
Yeah.
I ain't got a clue, to be honest. I don't even know what money means in Hollywood anymore. There's just so much of it.
Well, you're currently in a scenario where it's either mega budget or super low budget, and there's no in between.
Yeah, that middle's kind of disappeared, hasn't it?
Yeah. But in 2008, this would be very much on the higher end of the budget, and that is a flop and a half from a financial standpoint. It didn't perform much better critically either.
No, it really did. The critics thing didn't help. But I seem to remember over here, I mean, UK sort of box office doesn't really, it's a drop in the ocean really, isn't it, with films?
Absolutely.
But I don't remember any sort of adverts for this in the cinemas. I really don't.
No, I do remember everywhere I went, though, I would see a cardboard cutout of the Mac 5 in a lot of cinema foyers and stuff like that.
Right, yeah.
But aside from that, no, I remember seeing the trailer once and going, nah.
I think I did exactly the same thing.
Yeah. And now I feel silly about that. But I think now being a little bit older, a little bit, I'm more prone to looking for the roses even if I can't smell them. I'm glad I saw it now at this stage of life rather than back then.
Yeah, I think I think when you're looking at it and you're wanting the Wachowskis to do something as groundbreaking as the Matrix, I don't think I was ready for him to do something this different from that. Obviously it's groundbreaking in terms of editing and visual effects. It's absolutely stunning to look at, as we've already said. But I just don't think I was ready for the tone. I felt like with The Matrix, they'd sort of made more grown-up, things for adults. And I was like, why are they wasting their time making this kids' movie? And it's cost an absolute fortune.
It's a full-blown kids' movie, isn't it?
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely. Did they go straight from The Matrix to this?
Well, they did They wrote and produced V for Vendetta in between.
Right.
But they didn't direct that. This is their first directorial
after the third Matrix, wasn't it?
After the third Matrix, which I don't like at all.
No, I didn't like that at all.
No.
I remember seeing that in the cinema, and I was with a friend who fell asleep
it's
halfway
boring.
through. It's really, really boring. He woke up and he was like, what did I miss? I was like, literally nothing. They're still fighting.
I don't want to disappear down too much of a speed bump here, but flipping heck, that film is. Why isn't it in the Matrix? Nobody cares about the real world. It's so boring. Oh my god!
I don't want to see these scrubbers down in the caves. I don't care about these guys.
And
I
they're
want the cool
sweaty
guys.
raves.
Yeah. Oh, gross. I just love the idea that,
gross.
these guys, when this came out after The Matrix, people appeared at the cinema in full black trench coats like, yes, the Wachowskis' next movie, it's going to be amazing. Like, what are you here for? Speed Racer. And they're in their full trench coats and shades and all that. Blue pill, red pill, way. And they get in there and within 8 seconds, they're absolutely bombarded by colour. And
the critical reception hasn't been very good. There is no critical reception. And they come out like, oh my God, everything I believed in, it's gone, it's gone.
So obviously, critically, it did not fare very well at all. What sort of consensus was it?
Oh, I've got a corker here from Anthony Lane in The New Yorker, and I quote verbatim, though the film is not as criminally poor as V for Vendetta...
Which isn't bad at all. V for Vendetta was great, douchebag.
It struck me as more insidious. So, let's define insidious. Insidious means gradually and secretly causing harm. Anthony's had a bad day there,
I
hasn't he, really?
I got the complete opposite. It brought me nothing but joy when I was
It's
watching.
the most... Right, whether you like it or not, you can't deny that the message is unmistakably wholesome.
it's a positive thing. Insidious.
What does he mean? I've not read the review. I was like, that's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous.
What was its overall rating on Rotten Tomatoes?
40% critical, which is big old rotten, and audience 60%. So the audience
not
seems
too
to
bad.
like it more than the critics.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
Because we need to point out actually that's our criteria for looking at films, isn't it? That's,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. It's less than 50% on Rotten Tomatoes, or was a box office flop.
And in this case, it ticks both the boxes.
It does tick both those boxes.
The podcast is off with a bang.
Yeah, it's currently sitting at 37 on Metacritic, so yeah, even lower on that one. So,
dear me, do you not think looking at it, having just watched this week like that, that's harsh. That's harsh.
It is harsh.
It is
very
harsh.
harsh.
This one, I'm just looking at Metacritic now from the Miami Herald, that well-known film publication. Such a dull, clunky, joyless mess. It's hard to believe the people who made it understand much about movies. That's just not very nice.
I'd love to
describe this film
try
as
and
many
see
things,
them
but
try.
dull would not be one of them.
I know, yeah. I'd love to try and see them try and put an action sequence together that's 180 shots of across 5 minutes that's just green screen and nothing else. You organise that. Dear me. Some people, but because of movies like this, that has got a very clear ambition and giant scope, and it's trying to do something it's different, isn't it? It is different.
Yes.
Isn't the movie landscape better because it's been attempted, and maybe it fell short in people's eyes rather than it was never attempted at all?
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got to give it to the Wachowskis. Not everything they do works, and they're inconsistent from 1 minute to the next, let alone from one film to the next. But they absolutely swing for the fences every single time. There is no playing it safe whatsoever. They are absolutely putting everything on the line here and going, this is what we want to do. This is what we believe in. We think people will like this because we like this.
Yeah,
right? They were wrong.
I just don't think you can, argue on a technical level, the bar they set. Well, the bar they set in The Matrix, and then obviously to follow up that, they go, oh crap, what are we going to do now? So then they just make this visually stunning film, and it's there's no way you could turn around and say that that's a technically inept filmmakers have made that film.
It would be a farce to make that assessment.
It's and to be able to get, because I think we're, as we said before, all the actors in it are great. They proper sell it, and You know, they're doing 80% of it on green screen, and imagine directing that where it's all in their heads, basically, of how it was going to cut together.
Can you imagine them trying to explain it? Now, listen, Susan, I know this might be a bit different for you, but you're going to be acting against a backdrop of a mural made of Skittles vomit that some kid has chucked up after going on a jungle gym for 10 hours. And Susan going, yeah, I buy that. I'm there.
Yeah, she loved it. In the end sequence, she is losing her shit when he wins the race. Sorry, spoiler alert, by the way.
Oh, yeah. We should probably do that. If you haven't seen the film, then you might want to go and watch it first before you listen to the podcast.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to talk about the big twist as well. About is it a big twist about Racer X's lineage?
Oh my god, that the final 10 minutes is absolutely bonkers. So you've got that race, and as I said, Susan Sarandon like losing her shit, which is hilarious. And then the whole like reveal of Rex, you know, the Matthew Fox. It's off its tits. It's
it's insane.
Yeah,
it's
absolutely
insane.
mental. Like, it's just ridiculous.
I love the fact they did it, but it is crazy.
I wouldn't say it was a twist as such, though. I think if you've not figured that out by the first time he appears, that you're not working particularly hard.
Man, I'm a thicko. I was like, oh well, they've not got the same face, so can't be.
Yeah. I mean, I really don't. I really don't understand his motives for wanting to fake his own death and leave his family, though. They didn't really explain that. Why?
Wasn't he?
He just hates corporate greed, Si, and he's not going to stand for it.
Yeah. I thought, was he in the pocket of the mob or something like that? Or did we understand this film?
Well, if you remember in the opening, don't they send a go-kart filled with explosives to the family home?
Oh, yeah.
Down the drive,
And he takes the most elaborate way of getting rid of it and breaks a broom and jams it on it. I've not seen such an elaborate escape from anything since Steven Seagal in Hard to Kill when he wakes up from a coma and he escapes from a hospital with a broom and an 8-inch beard.
Imagine he'd missed the accelerator with the broom.
Like,
still, we wouldn't have had to put up with that fucking chimp then, would we?
The person who delivered it, like, just giving it to a child, like, oh yeah, there's the incredibly horrible.
So I'm assuming, because I love how we've just sort of stumbled on a massive like plot hole, or we're too stupid to understand the children's film.
Probably
not. Whereby I imagine that he was worried that his family were going to get hurt as a result of him not joining the big corporations and racing against them. So he faked his own death and then decided to take them on from inside. Or
to dismantle them legally instead of
I assume so.
on the
it doesn't
track.
really matter, does it?
No, yeah. During that 10-minute, when it finished, I was just like, what the hell just happened? It was proper condensed in as well. Like, literally last 5 minutes was... Yeah, we're going to explain, this whole thing of what happened to his brother whilst he's winning a race. It was so good.
Yeah, they try to go back to what they did in the opening with the finale, in terms of the...
I was like to bookend it.
I don't think it's quite as successful as it is in the first 15 minutes. It's just, I think at that point you should be focused more on the race at that stage,
Yeah.
He's just sort of taking you away from it, and then like Matthew Fox is like trying to. He's just not a very good actor, is he? Really?
No, he was brilliant. I will not have this. He was amazing. When they said like, "Do you want to go and tell them?" No, I can't remember what he said. Obviously not that memorable. But I thought it was really... I loved his earnest little face. Oh, it's marvellous stuff.
Yeah,
I was hooked.
He looked weird with the mask off, I thought.
Oh, he looks extremely dishy.
90 minutes with the mask on, and then he was just like, oh, it's the dude from Lost.
It's good because...
He really belongs on television, doesn't he?
Because he actually looks like he had face surgery. So it was very
I
suitable.
think this is outrageous. I think this is unacceptable.
The Fox. Oh.
I thought it was brilliant. Also brilliant, he swung for the fences with the role. I think Goodman knew he was in sort of Fred Flintstone territory for me, John Goodman.
Oh yeah, totally.
Like there was very much that sort of knowing earnestness to him as well. But we've not even mentioned Emile Hirsch once.
We haven't. But
we haven't.
He's not a great character, Emile Hirsch. We probably want to sort of. He might have been a nice boy back then, but I don't think he's a very nice person.
Is he not? Is he not a nice person? Well, he's like
what? Please, I thought we'd got the libelous stuff out of the way, but what? Tell me more.
Well, we might have to cut this out because let me. Sorry, here we go. This is great for podcasting. I'm just going to live Google.
Do you think? I think I didn't get about just totally going off a tangent while James looks up his facts on Emile. Like I had no idea where we were. Like, were we in Australia? Were we in?
Oh no, no.
I had absolutely no idea.
Wasn't Fiji mentioned at one point?
Yeah,
I might be totally making that up.
Oh, no, yeah. There's a race in Fuji, which was...
Fuji? What, the
round the mountain,
the photographer manufacturers?
Yeah, the Fuji factory. Yeah, there was a race called the Fuji race. So, I mean, I don't know. Is that in Japan? It was so... And then there's like a few Australian actors just randomly in there.
Yeah.
And then obviously it's mainly Australian, but it looks like we're in Japan.
Was it shot in Australia? You know, the Fox... Is it Fox? Or is it
I have no idea.
Who is it? But I was just wondering where... Because sometimes, when they go filming in wherever, they end up taking local talent as a sort of a goodwill gesture sometimes, don't they?
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point. Yeah, possibly was then. That would
I know there's a glut of films being shot in Australia around that time.
Right, yeah.
Because they had a
they
Fox
probably
Australia.
did shoot in Australia because I think they shot the Matrix trilogy in Australia.
Right, well, that does make sense because...
So I assume they used a lot of the same crew.
Yeah.
Right.
I did really like when they were doing the stage race, the team race. His outfit was gorgeous, where he had his blue shirt and his red neckerchief, which is straight out of the cartoon. That was really good.
Yeah,
really cool
that's the wardrobe throughout the film was great. Apart from I didn't like when John Goodman at the end became Reverse Super Mario when he was working on the.
Yes, I know.
Do you remember what was going on? Like, all I could think of was like, oh, they're all dressed like that. What's going on?
It's just such a strange film. Like everything is just so. Everything's turned up to 11, to borrow a Spinal Tapism. Like
it's just
absolutely going for it. I mean, what I quite like is there is a lot of green screen, obviously, but like the family home and things like that, they're all practical sets that they've just absolutely vomited colour onto.
Yeah, and again, you've got these amazing A-list actors acting themselves senseless in these weird production design creations.
Rob, you can keep saying A-list, but we're not going to go with Matthew Fox as an A-lister. I'm sorry, not even. He's C to B at best.
Right, yeah, I'm adding up.
You leave the Fox alone, Stuart.
Wasn't he in a film and like he appeared massively, like he'd been away for a while and then he appeared like insanely buff for some film?
Yeah,
what was it, where he was playing a killer in something?
Yeah, he was a bad guy in like a book adaptation film, wasn't it?
Oh, it's an Alex Cross, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Alex Cross.
Oh, yeah, that's the one.
Thriller that Morgan Freeman used to make back in the 90s when he used to make mid-level thrillers.
But it's like Tyler Perry. Is it Tyler Perry? The
comedian.
Yeah.
Who's more famous for playing Baxter Stockman in the Ninja Turtles.
What? I haven't seen the sequel.
You've got to get this sorted out, man.
Because the first one...
He is loving the role.
Wow. Yeah, I have to watch that. Well, Bebop and Rocksteady in it. That's even more reason to watch it.
Yeah.
While I've got like 10 screens open on my computer. I've just seen a very good user review on Metacritic from Brandon N. It sucks, it's for gay people. Take my advice. Take my advice and don't watch it. Like, what?
Thanks,
I don't
Brandon.
know what that means.
Insightful, Brandon.
It sucks. It's obviously zero stars from Brandon.
Yeah.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah. He couldn't,
he had to write that pithy review because he was on his way to picket an abortion clinic.
I think he's, struggling with an awakening inside. Is poor Brandon. He wasn't ready for what the colours of this film and the excitement of this film was going to bring out of him. I think he's struggling.
I think the joy that it brought him obviously made him question his own sexuality. It's all right, Brandon. Don't worry. Go with it. Lean into it, mate. It's fine.
I wanted to ask you guys, what was your... If you got, when you leave a movie at the cinema, and obviously we didn't watch this together, but after a movie, a lot of the time, when you're kids, you say, what was your favourite bit? What was your favourite bit?
Oh, favourite bit? I think the opening race is just unbelievable. Like how he's racing like the ghost car of his brother. And that's where all the cut points are as well. Like he does a jump and it just cuts from the race to the brother doing the race. It's so good.
Yeah.
The group thing was good, I guess. No, I think that opening race is amazing. And Christina Ricci was my favourite.
Yeah, we haven't mentioned her yet either, have we?
I thought she was great. She was really
Cool Beans.
Good. Cool Beans. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen a lot
Cool
of hate
Beans.
for the Cool Beans thing on the old user reviews. Everyone got really offended by that. I don't know why. Obviously,
I'm sure Brandon was one of those people, I think. James, what about you? Do you have a favourite bit?
Yeah, just to be a bit boring, I'll echo what Simon said. I think that opening is absolutely stellar. I think it's really how if you're wanting to set your stall out for the type of film that you're making early on, that's how you do it, essentially. And it's just so economical in the way that it tells all the backstory. It's probably the only part of the film that is economical, to be honest, in terms of
That's fair.
excessive
That is
running
fair.
time.
That is fair.
It's just like if the rest of the film was like that and it came in at like 105 minutes, I think people would be like, this is brilliant.
Yeah.
I imagine that a lot of the negativity that came with the film is just down to people going, God, is this not over yet? My head is killing me.
Do you know what? Like, I honestly think that's true because you're watching it and it's almost like you're watching the extended cut on a DVD because there are scenes in it what it doesn't need, what could easily go. And it could have gone to 2 hours. There's easily 15 minutes to take off it.
Comfortably. I think just to round that little bit off, I think my favourite bit would be Matthew Fox, obviously.
As established.
Obviously. But he in one of the teamworky race bit, he flipped a car, and as he was going over the top of him, he reached down to punch someone in the face who was also driving.
Of course, that was your favourite
huge
bit.
fan of that moment.
That is very...
There was also a guy who kept going on about turds and at one point shouted out, "Let's pinch these turds off!" Do you remember? Again, that was that sort of like, I don't want my kids screaming that at me, from the bathroom in the middle of the night. Like, I'm all for good bathroom etiquette, but,
Yeah, he was one of the snake team leaders, wasn't he?
He was, that was the guy. Guy. But on that topic of like why people didn't like it probably as much as they did, I felt like the natural crescendo to the film was actually that bit with the team race, not the Grand Prix bit at the end. Even though I loved everything that happened, but in a storytelling sense, it felt like it built to that. And then when it was all done, it was like, and the gang's all here and all that kind of stuff, and we made it. And then no, you've got another 45 minutes to go, chum. And that's probably what it's a bit of fatigue, isn't it?
I think you're right there. I think that is the exact point where people gave up with the film because they were there's another
45 minutes of this.
Yeah.
Like, even if you're enjoying it, and I think we've all established that we all enjoyed the film. There's reservations, but we all largely enjoyed the film. But it's just so full on that your eyes become tired looking at it. Like
desperate for Alka-Seltzer, a dark room, and a black pudding.
Yeah.
Rob.
And some straight cuts now and again.
Why a black pudding? We can't let that just go.
It always levels me out, man. Always levels me out.
Just eating it raw out of the fridge.
I'm going to have two straight after I've double-fisted these Steve Weisers.
Well, we haven't mentioned the music yet, actually.
No. What was it?
It was
by that little-known composer, Michael Giacchino?
Michael
He never went on
Giacchini.
to do anything else. Did he?
I thought I'm so gullible. You were having me on, man.
I'm a professional, obviously.
Yeah, you had me. The only music I really remember is that horrible cash-in song at the end. I even looked it up so I could say it on the podcast.
Oh yeah, that
LED
was bad.
and the Decompressors remix of the original Speed Racer theme, I believe. Happy to be proven wrong as to what that really was, but don't make me listen to it again.
It was definitely no Pitbull reworking Africa by Toto.
Or LL Cool J's "My Hat Is Like a Shark's Fin."
Oh, that's a potential future film for this
Oh,
podcast.
Fucking
no.
yes. 3 times the cinema I went to see that. 3 times.
What a movie that is.
my head is like a shark's fin. Is your hat like a shark's fin, LL? What does that even mean, you maniac?
Oh, God. Yeah.
I've got a question about the milk. What was the milk all about?
Yeah. Is it because it was kids and they can't have alcohol? I'm guessing it was a stupid thing they've brought from the original cartoon.
Yeah,
I
it
don't
just
know why,
be so clean cut. It's all down to that, I
suppose I didn't see anyone having a pint or anything.
Even though I don't think in the source material he is an all-American character. It's all that all-American cookie cutter stand-up guy, like Hulk Hogan used to be in the 90s,
And of course, you mentioned before, produced by Joel Silver.
Yes, Joel Silver of Die Hard and Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, what's he up to these days?
Did he do Predator as well?
Did he?
I don't know if he did the latest Predator, but he definitely did The Nice Guys with Shane Black, which is a great film and probably another one for this podcast because that, again, absolutely tanked at the box
didn't it?
office.
That's superb, that film. Really good.
That was like Shane Black at his most Shane Blackness. And I think that's definitely one that we might have to revisit here.
Cool. Again, obviously, not
I'm
seen
looking
it.
at Rob's vacant face. He has not seen that film.
Absolutely no.
I'm not sure he's heard of it.
No, I have. What I hadn't heard of was this week's Oscar winner for Best Picture. Welcome to a film podcast by the cinematic Luddite. Hasn't got a clue.
With it being such a commercial flop, as we've established, it was pretty, pan-critically. Some audiences liked it, I guess, but I guess no one went to see it, considering it's quite a spectacular bomb, that, isn't it?
Yes.
Obviously, partly down to the fact that the biggest bloody action movie thing was happening at the time with Iron Man coming out, which was just blew everyone away at the time.
And, I don't think you can overlook the impact of The Dark Knight that came out the same summer as well.
Yeah, definitely.
This is so out of step with what audiences wanted that summer. Yeah. It's unreal.
Maybe what audiences didn't know they wanted. Maybe they didn't know they didn't want this. Yeah. They certainly did want the big tentpole superhero releases multiple times a year.
But The Dark Knight is a big sort of wide release, PG-13, 12A property. Whereas this is a PG as well, so they're going for the same sort of mass market. But The Dark Knight feels like a film made for adults, that teenagers can go and watch, and 10 and 11-year-olds can go and watch. Whereas this feels like a children's film, and it looks like a children's film, and I think that's probably what hurt it. In that.
I think so. It's almost as if if it was an animated film, it may have fared better because obviously animated films go down better with kids, I think, than live action. I think they get a bit bored. Especially when it's 2 hours 20 or whatever it is. I honestly can't remember what the Wachowskis have done since then, to be honest, apart from...
Yes.
Jupiter Ascending, was that something?
Was that them?
I haven't seen that yet.
I haven't seen that.
No, neither have I.
I'll tell you one film I will be putting forward for us to discuss. This won't be the last time we go to Wachowski country, I don't think. Is Cloud Atlas. And
Not
that
seen
comes in
that
at a very
either.
lean 3 hours.
3 hours?
No. I'll never forget my own face when I looked on the back of the Blu-ray box and saw 2 hours, 15 minutes. Like, what?
Rob, you've got to show some dedication to this podcast, Rob. Be a professional.
I bought the jolly thing. I'd never seen it. I've enhanced my my Blu-ray collection with this. That actually, the context of when we watch these things, it was Oscar season when we recorded this, wasn't it, guys? So,
yeah.
In the context of the Oscars, Green Book certainly was considered highly. Would you class, or would you suggest that people reconsider Speed Racer?
Oh, before we give our opinion, can we just give a round of applause for Rob's unbelievably professional segue?
I was struggling to figure out how would that work, and there he goes. Rob smashes it out the park.
We've been trying to wrap it up for 25 minutes.
In answer to that, I think definitely. I think films like this don't exist anymore, I don't think. And it is just unbridled joy. It's so fun. The music's great. Yeah, it makes you happy, I think, with all these time of gritty reboots and everything's a bit dark. It's quite good to have a bit of fun with something, and that's what it is. It's just a big fun movie.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd echo a lot of that. I mean, it's visually stunning. I haven't seen anything like this from a major studio before or since in terms of the cutting-edge visual effects that are on show here, and just the audacity of the filmmakers. You can't help but applaud it, really. It's everything on the table. You either like it or you don't. Unfortunately for the Wachowskis, this one didn't work out, and they've been hit and miss since The Matrix. But, I'll always be ready to see whatever they're putting out, because always do something interesting.
They're always pushing the envelope, aren't they? So it's always.
Well, that's what you want out of filmmakers, isn't it? Yeah, I think I'm not interested in super safe cinema at all.
No, particularly at this budget. I get a real kick out of someone taking $120 million and making something that nobody at the studio understands. And then they're like, how the hell do we market this thing?
I'm sure the studio heads didn't echo that sentiment.
Nobody read this script. Joel Silver didn't read this script.
So what do you think, Rob?
Yeah, I agree with everything you've just said there, and I openly admit to at the opening of the film I was like, how am I going to sit through this? But as soon as we were in that race and I was in that world, I was in. I totally agree that it needs to lose half hour, 40 minutes, and it can stand to lose that quite comfortably. But that said, I would urge audiences, like we've all just said, to reconsider this one. It was actually really good. I really enjoyed it. So, thanks for that discussion, boys. I think next week we're back with another film. You can hit us up on social media. Find us on Twitter For Your Reconsideration. And have a good week. See you soon. Say goodbye, boys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Take it easy.
Wow, profesh. What an ending.